This is RealAgriculture.com's SeedPod, the podcast that gives you insight into the Canadian seed industry. Brought to you by SGS BioVision.
Welcome to the SeedPod on RealAgriculture.com, brought to you by SGS BioVision. Now, in the SeedPod, we always focus on issues that are really impacting your seed business. Sometimes those are agronomic, sometimes those are more issues-based. Well, today we're going to focus on an issue that's actually been going on for quite a while, and it could have real major long-term impacts on the industry. We've heard lots about some of the agribusiness mergers that have been happening in our industry on the corporate side, but there's also a lot of associations looking at what if we actually work together? In the seed industry, it's called seed synergy. Joining me right now to talk about this really big project that the seed industry associations have really been focused on, trying to figure out what is the right answer, is Dan Wright. Dan is the president of the Canadian Seed Trade Association, one of the 6 organizations involved in seed synergy. Dan, how's it going today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is a really important topic in the seed industry. We've had some of these organizations that have been a huge part of our industry. Some are a little bit younger than others, but they all play different important roles. And seed synergy is something that's been worked on for quite some time, over 3 years. What for some of the growers and seed industry members that are listening to this podcast, what is seed synergy?
Seed synergy is really, looking at, we've got a great regulatory system in Canada, but there are some areas that we think we can make better, and there's lots of innovation coming. So it's really trying to design what the business model and how we need to get new products to market, what that needs to look like in the future. And it's taking the 6 organizations that participate in the seed industry today and having lots of dialogue, engaging lots of people on different levels to try and design what that new model looks like.
Now, does this mean a full merger of all these organizations like CSGA, CSTA, CSI, and others? Or is this we're just going to look at what the synergies are and we're going to work a little bit closer together?
So yet to be determined. Yeah. So I think we really spent the first, as you said, it's been almost 3 years, spent the first number of time really trying to figure out how we need, the industry needs to look, and we're getting close to what that looks like, and now the conversation is starting to evolve too. So we know kind of what the industry is going to look like. How should we form ourselves around the functions that we need to make happen? And so there's 6 organizations today. Everybody's in a spot, I believe, where will there be 6 in the future? I don't think so. Will there be 1? Will there be 2? Will there be 3? There will be less. I think everybody's in agreement that we can structure ourselves better. But I think we're a little bit of work to do there yet. I think really good process and discussion that's happening, and there will be less. And I'm confident that whatever it looks like in the future will be set up to really drive the innovation that we need.
So, similar to some of the farm group merger discussions that have been out there, there's always concern that I'm pretending I'm one of the organizations, not just anyone specifically, but everybody always thinks about their interests, right? And so there can be a hesitation and being like, hey, well, if we become one, the seed labs won't have a voice, or the growers won't have a voice, or maybe some of the trade won't have a voice because it's more diverse. So, my experience with this topic has been, that's been one of the big hang-ups for people to kind of get past and get over when they think about these talks.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's common with any change. So it's not against any one of the groups. It's just that's a principle of change that everybody has their view from their standpoint. I think taking the time, and then we've brought in an outside consultant to help us. So it's not CSTA or CSGA driving it and saying we need to do this. It's a third party that is really objective, spends time with each organization, understanding their needs, and then bringing us all together and really trying to keep the industry or the individual views of the organizations and keep it really focused on the top. And that's been good, but it also takes time. So I think that's why the process has been longer since we're in our 3rd year, because it does take time. And I think everybody's in a really good spot to do that. As we get closer to what it looks like in the end, you're always going to need to cycle back and say, okay, remember, here's why we're doing it, and here's where we want to go, and what needs to happen. And I think everybody, our industry and all the associations are small. We talked before. We punch over our weight. We get way more done than what we when you look at it. CSTA only has 4 people. People are always amazed at why you get so much done with 4 people. And so there's going to be a spot for everybody, and everybody's going to have a voice. And every organization's important, because seed's a long process. It's complicated, and you can't have a misstep on any level. So making sure that everybody's heard and understood that they are important cog in the overall seed system is really important.
Yeah, a lot of the audience, they're in the seed industry, so they're very familiar with all the different organizations, what they all do. But the reality is, I use the example of lobbying, okay, is an example. So, you're going to go talk to somebody in Ottawa, and you walk in and say, we represent the seed industry, and maybe it's growers, maybe it's industry, whatever. And then the person you're talking to looks back at you and says, wait a minute, the seed industry, weren't you here yesterday? Right? And so even though that we're familiar with all the different groups and all the different interests, when we're talking to people outside of our seed bubble, it's not that way. Right. So I'm sorry to be honest with everybody, it's just not.
Yeah, and I think through Seed Synergy, so Seed Synergy is not an organization, it's a process that we're doing to have this, but I think through that we've really, having all the different organizations spend more time together and unite our voice. And so as we go to talk to the government, when we go through the door, we're going through talking about our organization, but also, hey, we're working with the other 5 organizations on Seed Synergy. The government's aware of what Seed Synergy is and is very supportive of that process. And we have the common speaking points, because if you're right, if we go through and everybody's got just a little bit different, then nothing ever is going to happen. So having that concise speaking points, so when we do talk to government, we're 100% aligned, is really important through this process.
So what is the timeline going forward? Right, so all this sounds great, very interesting. There's a lot of opportunity here, but where do we go from here?
So we are by the end of March, the consultations will be wrapped up. We have a company that's doing a review on what's the economic benefit of everybody coming together. Will all be wrapped up, and then the white paper, which will be the framework of where we believe the industry is going to go. It will be out in the second quarter of 2018. So we'll start to see some tangible things that are there on paper.
And people will read the white paper, consume it, think about it, provide further feedback based on the white paper?
Well, we had the green paper, which is the evolution, right? So a green paper is not quite done. It means it's open for feedback, where really the white paper is going to be, we had the consultation. Okay. Here's the results of all the consultations, all the 3 years of work, and numerous consultants doing some background things as well. And here, the white paper is going to be, here's where we see the process going forward. And then it's how do you start to implement things that are in the white paper. And it will go to each organization for their boards to approve. So a white paper isn't, the green paper isn't approved by any board. It's a process, and it's an evolution. Once the white paper comes available and is done, then each board will ratify or approve it at that time.
It's in motion.
It's in motion, yeah.
Okay, cool. Dan, thanks for breaking this down for us. It's a very important topic for the seed industry. A lot of times we talk about royalties and we talk about varieties and registrations and the regulatory. This is a bigger overarching issue that a lot of people have put a lot of time into to try to get to this point.
Yeah, no, it has for sure, and it's exciting that we're making great progress, and we'll start to see some tangible things that are going to happen. So thanks for having me.
Moving from the what if to the here, let's make something happen.
Absolutely.
Okay, Dan, thanks a lot. You can find more episodes of the SeedPod by going to RealAgriculture.com. And once again, thanks to our sponsor, SGS BioVision.